You're listening to a Dare Media Group and Mastiff Media radio station. From Dare Media Group, Radio X Gold, Radio X Country, 6RXM, Radio X Magic, and Dare Talk Radio. And from Mastiff Media, Yerg's Radio, Rainbow Radio, Right Talk Radio, Forward Radio, Mastiff Sports and Shady News Radio. For more information, visit daremediagroup.com.au or mastiff.medias.
You're tuned to the Sportcat Show.
The boss jock has entered the building. You are listening to the Sportcat Show.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. You're the one, the only Sportcat. I am live on the YouTubes, the Facebooks, I don't know, a couple other places, but I want to thank my listeners on Radio X in Australia and my listeners on Yerg's Radio. I want to encourage everybody to come over and join the chat because, well, we have a great chat and better late than never, but we're going to go over today. So in Australia, I will play the commercial today. So, all right. Hello, Chris, and hello, Denise. Welcome, welcome. And we got Brenda in the show today. She's probably bitching because I'm late. So yeah, it is what it is. And yeah, Ross and I were, so yeah. And Chris says, tell Ross CNN would report all the shootings if the appearance, religion, sexuality, political affiliation of the shooter wasn't part of the media's protected class. Yeah. Chris says, if not walking away from a fight justifies an ass beating, now does not complying with police instructions and being belligerent toward a law enforcement get an ass beating? Yeah. Chris, you're on fire. Just asking for those of us without double standards and hypocrisy. Hey, KG, welcome. Glad you're here today. I'm glad everybody hung out. And Chris, yes, please. We've got a great chat. And we need to talk about this like, comment, share, and subscribe. It does help it get through the algorithm. It's actually psychological encouragement to me because I'm seeing numbers drop in some places and numbers go up in another. And, it just, it's helpful if we get that thumbs up. It shows a little interaction besides for being in the chat. And it shows people care about what you're doing because I spend a lot of time doing this. So, all right. So, Chris, you do not need to apologize about blowing up on the chat. I welcome everybody, no matter if I agree with you or not. And I will always, unless you're being an ass, I will always try and highlight your comment. If you're just being a jerk, then maybe I won't. So not only usually applies to Wendell, but no, I love Wendell. By the way, where is Wendell? All right, well, we're running a little behind. We're gonna run over. I've already I hope Yergs tells them on the chat that I'll be over a little bit. So it's 1:30. Goodness gracious. Where is the day going? And it's still good morning in LA and Denver. It's 10:30 in Denver. I'm sorry, in LA, 11:30 in Denver. Chris, it's 12:30 there. It's lunchtime for you. And in Australia, it is the overnight hours. Tomorrow we're time traveling. Good morning to you in Sydney, 3:30. And good morning to you in Perth. It's 1:30. I should do the weather with that too. Your daily time, news, and weather. All right, let's get into what we normally do. We'll do history, and then we got some news too to talk about. If you see this little thing up here, it's lit up. So we got weird stuff, and we got crazy stuff, and then we just got the weather. So that's all crazy. All right, so today in history, it's August 20th, and we go back in time, 1597, the first Dutch East India Company ships return from the Far East. And this says in 1619, slavery begins in mainland British colonies of North America when the first known African captives, approximately 20, land at Point Comfort in Virginia before being sold or traded into servitude. 1741, and it's the good and bad slavery. I'm being an ass with that comment. In 1741, Alaska is first sighted by a Russian expedition led by Danish explorer Vitus Bering. 1905, the Chinese revolutionary Sun Yat-sen forms the first chapter of the Tongmenghui Every time I say one of these names, I think of a joke. I don't know if I should tell it on the air. A union of secret societies determined to bring down the Ming Dynasty. 1968, 250,000 Soviets in a Warsaw Pact across Warsaw. It's not my day. It's just not my day. 1968, 250,000 Soviet and Warsaw Pact troops invade Czechoslovakia at night to suppress the Prague Spring. There's a Prague Spring. 1939, Oslo peace accords are signed between Israel and the Palestine liberation, and they stopped fighting for one day. I added that part. 1951, the 12th Venice Film Festival started today. 1882, Pierre Tchaikovsky, I should have just said Tchaikovsky, the 1812 Overture debuts in Moscow. Actually, one of my favorite classical pieces. I love it when the national band for the United States does it on the 4th of July and times it with the cannons. It's great. And even if you need to learn the history, feel it and hear it when you know what's going on with it. 1920, as the president, which later becomes the NFL. It's almost opening day. It's college football opening day this weekend. Well, it's week 0, I think they call it. 2000 PGA Championship Men's Golf Valhalla Golf Course. Tiger Woods wins back-to-back PGA titles after a 3-hole play with Bob May. Become the first to win 3 majors at a calendar since Ben Hogan. Isn't Tiger's son, or maybe his daughter, I'm not sure, doing well in PGA? I'm not sure. I don't really follow it, but I know that he has a child that is coming up through the ranks. And let's see, we talked about that. 1667, John Milton publishes Paradise Lost. The epic poem about the biblical fall of mankind is released. The work is considered to be his masterpiece. It's mostly because Paradise Lost that he today is known for, one of the greatest English writers of all time. He wrote the poem between 1658 and 1663, dictating it to others as he'd gone blind in 1652. He's the greatest English writers of all times. I'm going to argue that. I'm going to say Dickens. 1940, Leon Trotsky is killed in Mexico. And he is a Russian Marxist revolutionary and the mortal enemy of Joseph Stalin. 1968, Czechoslovakian Prague Spring. I'm just going to play music and go away today. 1968, Czechoslovakians Prague Spring ends with the Soviet invasion. 1989, the Mendez brothers kill their parents. Aren't they trying to get out now? All right, so that's enough of that stuff. I'm over it. Every day has a national day. What is today? It is not National Sportcat Speak Day. I can tell you that. So the anniversary of the Revolution of the King and the People. And that's it? Yeah, all right, we'll move on then. I don't like this one. That's it? That's it? Okay. I thought I had better than that. All right, let's try this one. It's National Bacon Lovers Days. I love bacon. Bacon's good for me. It's good for you. National Accessible Air Travel Day. Ooh, National Chocolate Pecan Pie Day. And National Radio Day. We'll talk about that in a minute because maybe I need to be celebrating even though I can't talk. Notable birthdays for today. Benjamin Harris, the 23rd President of the United States. Kingsley Davis, a sociologist and demographer who coined the term population explosion. Jim Reeves, the country musician fondly remembered as Gentleman Jen. Don King, who can forget him, boxing promoter. James Penkow, musician and founding member of Chicago. Happy birthday. That was a great band back in the day. And Doug Flieger, he was the musician who co-wrote the hit song My Sharona. Oh, I love that song. Al Roker, he's a news anchor, TV personality, and author. But he's just a weather guy, isn't he? Amy Adams, an award-winning actress with lead roles in Enchanted, Julia, American Hustle, and Big Eyes. And let's see, we talked about all that. But we talked about 1938, Lou Gehrig hitting his 23rd career Grand Slam. And in 1920, commercial radio station begins operations in Detroit. President Johnson formally declares the American Civil War is over in 1866. So we didn't highlight this one earlier, but I'm going to because, well, it's National Radio Day. We celebrate National Radio Day as a tribute to technology that helps shape the modern world and continues to spark imagination, connection, and community. Long before the days of stringing and smartphones, radio waves earned the heartbeat of nations. I remember actually carrying a little pocket-sized AM radio in my pocket to school. Just a little tiny one. The story of radio is a tale of science and innovation that began in the 1800s with the early experiments of Nikola Tesla in Hertz. That's why it's called Hertz. It's Hertz. Just remember Hertz. Accumulated in Macron's wireless triumphs, but it was Lee DeForest, the father of radio, who made the magic audible to the public. In 1910, he transmitted the world's first live broadcast featuring opera stars, ushering in a new era of communication. By 1920, Detroit's WWJ was on the air as the first scheduled news program, and the airwaves quickly filled with music, sports, and storytelling. Franklin D. Roosevelt famously used radio for his fireside chats, giving comfort and clarity to a struggling nation during the Great Depression and WW2. Then came moments like Orson Welles, the infamous War of the Worlds in 1938, which blurred the line between entertainment and reality and proved the medium's unmatched power to captivate. Over the decades, radio's evolved from AM to FM, from transistor to satellite, and eventually online, where we find all of you lovely people through streaming and podcasts. The first online station was Radio HK, launched in 1995, extending the reach of radio far beyond the dial. Today, radio endures as a uniquely personal and enduring experience, whether it's the crackle of a classic rock station, a trusted local voice during a morning commute, or the nostalgia of tuning into your hometown team. Radio still connects with us in ways that are intimate, immediate, and irreplaceable. So today we say thank you for making radio part of your everyday. So there you go. All right. So let's just get into the headlines here, and we're got to start off with Hurricane Aaron in a shot. Let's see. Let me catch up here. How can the other site still not love bacon lovers? I know. What's up with that? I was like, they usually have much more than that. They don't even like bacon. It must be. Oh no, I ain't gonna piss off anybody. Well, maybe I will. It had to be vegetarian owned. I'm just saying. Hurricane Aaron is threatening the North Carolina coast with flooding and strong winds as the large storm moved on a projected path up the Atlantic. Officials are saying the hurricane isn't expected to make landfall in the U.S., but evacuation orders have been issued over the state's outer banks as the East Coast was warned of life-threatening surf and rip conditions. And let me say this real quick. If you're hearing me and you're on the coast of North Carolina, leave now. It's about to be too late. No one should be in the ocean, according to North Carolina Governor Josh Stein said during a briefing Wednesday. He added, if you are under evacuation order, take action now before it's too late. And there's some things that, well, we'll go through this article, but there's some tidbits that I found interesting so far about this storm. See, first Atlantic hurricane of 2025. It was a Cat 2, then it churned its way north, and it's a Cat 5 on Saturday before being downgraded Now, its strength is fluctuating, and it could still regain the strength to be a 5. So don't let that throw you off. As of 11 a.m., it had maximum sustained winds of 110 miles an hour, was moving north at 13 miles an hour, which is good. We wanted to go north, but we wanted to go east. Go east. So it is actually currently in the Bermuda Triangle. A Category 2 hurricane is defined as having maximum sustained winds between 96 and 110 miles an hour, and was just considered a major storm capable of causing devastating damage. Maximum sustained winds have to be at least 111. Forecasters said some strengthening is possible. Yes, it is strengthening. I listened to it before I came on the air today. So this map shows its projected path. And one thing I want everybody to see, we see these little dots and you think, oh, it's just a storm. It's 225 miles off the coast of the Carolinas. It's halfway between Bermuda and the U.S. This storm is the size of Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and both Carolinas combined, as well as part of Tennessee. It's that large. So just because you see this little dot, you think, oh, it's off the coast. No. It's very large. So they're saying outward, the winds are extending outward of 90 miles from the center. Tropical force winds up to 265 miles. It's actually greater than that now due to the latest update. So, yeah. If you're in the Carolinas, leave. Well, not the Carolinas, but if you're along the coast, evacuate now. If you're on the Virginia Beach coastline, you need to start making plans. And then as you get up into the Delmarva and possibly later, further north it goes up to New York, Delaware, and then out to sea. So the spaghetti models, well, we've heard all kinds of talk about them. So it's supposed to steer away, but it's still so large. They're talking about by tonight, North Carolina could see some hurricane force winds. They're already experiencing the high tides. The rip tides have been pretty much current for the past 2 days from Miami up to Virginia Beach. And mandatory evacuations have been ordered on Hatteras and Ocracoke in the Outer Banks. I don't think they initiated it for Oak Island, but just to be safe, I probably would. It's dangerous conditions, and we have to remember we're not halfway through the season yet. So the waves look great, but no, no, stay out of it. I know some people want to go surfing and do all that, but no. So remember, Aaron did form as a tropical storm, as they all do, and then they moved. And we talked about this. I've actually been kind of right on some of my things. I predicted it was going to affect Oak Island, but it's actually moved to the west, and now it's just the Outer Banks. Luckily, I mean, not that I wish anything bad on them. I've got friends and family there, but they're still going to get brushed with it. And we see that it's the first significant storm that's going to affect the U.S. And there's some talk that before the end of the day, we may have Ferdinand. So stay tuned. And Ferdinand, well, if you're in southern Florida or the Gulf Coast is where you really need to be paying attention. So, and Chris says the dot is just a center. It's everything around that dot for hundreds of miles in every direction that you have to worry about. Exactly. We're going to look, let's see. Yeah, Chris says, I hope that Monster stays away from Denise. We all do. Denise, we're thinking about you. Yeah, that storm is, and it's going to grow. So let's update this and see if we got anything. Yep, we do. Let's see. From North Carolina DOT, is in a release issued shortly after noon, they're asking people in coastal North Carolina to stay off the roads starting late Wednesday through the end of the week. There are no significant road closures ahead of the storm, but we want to get the sand and water off the road before you come back, but we have to wait for it to pass. So always go online and check your North Carolina DOT if you're in North Carolina, and then, of course, follow all applicable rules about getting out. And the ferry division, okay, they're using ferries to evacuate from Ocracoke and they've been doing so since Sunday night. That's a beautiful area of the country. So they hope to keep the inland roads open, but as the storm goes, we'll see how it goes. They're already pre-placing people with chainsaws, trucks, backhoes, front-end loaders, and it's pretty amazing how quickly they get the roads cleared up. So, but tonight is going to start affecting the Outer Banks, and then it's going to be moving northward. I don't really have to go through this because we've seen most of that. I think it was KG that sent me some pictures from the Outer Banks, and I was already impressed. All right, I'm going to bring up this site a little early. This is a radar, and this comes to us from Amateur Radio. Ironically, on National Radio Day. It's funny, though, if you look at this, they do the Southeast, but we left Virginia out. But we had a Kentucky. When did we do that? But you can go find the ARES, which is Amateur Radio Emergency Services, Southeastern U.S. Situational Awareness Map online, and everybody can use it. I like this map here because it's spotlighting not just the radar, which is great, but it's added in the devastating winds. And we can see that from Oak Island all the way up past Virginia Beach to the Delmarva is where the winds are going to start kicking in from tonight onward, and then later in the day and evening, overnight, and tomorrow. It'll be up the coast, depending on if it grows anymore. But I like this one because it not only adds the current position, the trajectory, radar, and wind. So Amateur Radio does a lot of great things people don't realize, and this is just one free map that's available. They do it. This is for the Southeast, but you can zoom out and see that, like the other maps, they do show where there's watches, warnings, and stuff like that. So KG says a news video of OBX an hour ago showed the already flooded to knee level. Yeah. It's well, they were saying that they already had 10-foot waves, I believe, and they're supposed to get higher. So yeah, if you aren't evacuated now, do it quickly. Get out. There was homes already in the Outer Banks that have been washed away just from the force of the waves coming in, and those homes are built to withstand certain level of hurricanes, but I'm sure over time and aging probably hurts the construction. But this is a storm to be taken serious. I mean, let's just look at this. Bermuda is over here, and the coast is over here, and it's affecting the coast of Bermuda and the coast of the Carolinas. I mean, just think about that. And it is right now currently located, and there you see, from the Carolinas to Bermuda to Florida, it's currently right smack dab in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle, where all kinds of bad things can happen because of other types of activity. And I'm not talking anything paranormal here. I'm talking about you could have geological events too and stuff. That's a notorious area for underwater earthquakes, so which can cause rogue waves. Imagine if we had a underwater earthquake during the middle of this. That just would be devastating. I shouldn't even think about it. That would just be devastating. But you can go check this out. ARES, Amateur Radio Emergency Services, Southeastern U.S. Situational Awareness Map. I'm not sure if any of the other ARES groups have one of these upstate, going northeast, but the southern one is really good. And check it out if you need, especially if you're in any of the affected areas of the Carolinas, because it's going to give you some detailed information. You can actually add in here. Where is it? You can add things in here. It's crazy the things you can add in here. You can add, and let's see, you can add in infrastructure, of course, amateur radio. You can add in, okay, well, they've changed it because, oh, wait a minute, maybe it's right here. You can add cell phones in, special forestry service. Then you have the Georgia amateur radio, which of course is where it's based out of. And then you can add in, you can add in. Can you add in that? Florida, Kentucky, North Carolina. Okay, all right. And Coast Guard districts, that's new. I don't even know where the Coast Guard district is. I'm sure they're quite busy. You can add time zones. And it used to have, you could add in things like hospitals, fire stations, and it had all kinds of data layers you could add in here. So it's a great resource. Check it out if you need it. And yeah, look there. Those are the areas currently in trouble. All right, let's move on because we don't want to spend a whole day on it. But we also have to talk about later in the week, one of the things that's pushing this hurricane out to sea is a La Nina. And, well, basically, the La Nina is coming from the north. We're going to see cooler temperatures, and we're hoping it pushes that out to sea. So we're going to start seeing cool temperatures coming through the north all the way down to the south. I don't think it's going to make it to the tip of Florida, but we will follow that and see. So there is a chance that we're going to see some really significant cool temperatures over the next week. It's not going to cool the waters for the other storms, though, unfortunately. We may have cool temperatures, but the water is still going to be warm for a little while longer. All right, well, this is one of my headlines where I had the radioactive shrimp or radioactive fish jumping out of the hurricane. Walmart is recalling, I love this, possibly radioactive shrimp after the public was warned not to eat. Walmart has recalled some of its shrimp products in the U.S. after radioactive material was detected. We have radioactive wasps. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration warned the public not to eat the frozen shrimp sold under the Great Value label. They could have been exposed to a dangerous isotope in shipping containers. How the hell does that happen? One sample of breaded shrimp tested positive for substances, the FDA said, but this sample did not enter U.S. commerce. Okay. Consumers in 13 states, the shrimp products are sold, have been advised to throw them away. Well, aren't we throwing radioactive stuff in the trash then? The health and safety of our customers is always our top priority, Walmart says. Yeah, right. We have issued a sales restriction and removed this product from our shelves, and we're working with the supplier to investigate. They added that consumers who bought them could visit any Walmart for a full refund. So if they bring them in and they throw them all in one container, aren't we just going to have a big container of radioactive shrimp? I don't know. If you're in Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Missouri, Mississippi, Ohio, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Texas, West Virginia, those states are advised to be cautious. You can't test we don't have Geiger counters. It was from an Indonesian supplier that has had a number of shipping containers denied entry into the USA. One tested positive for cesium-137, the radioactive form of the periodic cesium. The amount contained in the tested shipment held by the FDA was not enough to pose acute harm to consumers. Exposure over time could pose an elevated risk of cancer by damaging living cells in the body, the officials from the agency said. It's made through nuclear reactions and is present in trace amounts in soil, food, and air. It is one of the principal sources of radiation found around Chernobyl in Ukraine and Fukushima in Japan. The FDA said no cesium-137 has been detected in the other products it tested, but this does not rule out contamination. So if you have shrimp, probably wouldn't eat it. I wonder if you fish with it, if you're a fisherman and use shrimp to fish, does that make the fish radioactive when you catch it? I don't know. All right, so this is a new one. We've talked about squirrels and rabbits. Well, now veterinarians are warning of a deadly feline disease spreading. And this is in southern Indiana, but it's going to spread. Local vets are urging cat owners to be vigilant after confirmed cases of bobcat fever were found in southern Indiana. The disease, also known as, I ain't trying. It's a serious and awful fatal illness to domestic cats. Confirmed cases of bobcat fever have been reported in Greene, Martin, and Monroe counties. And we're talking now, this is in Indiana. So symptoms to watch for: loss of appetite, lethargy, high fever, difficulty breathing, vomiting, diarrhea, weight loss, signs of anemia or jaundice, and in some cases, seizures. So Without immediate treatment, bobcat fever has a mortality rate of nearly 100%. But if you get prompt and aggressive veterinarian care, your chances of survival for your feline pals is 60%. The best way to protect your pet is through consistent prescription strength flea and tick prevention. While outdoor cats are at the highest risk, indoor cats are also susceptible, as ticks can be brought in from other animals or on us. So anybody that has a furry feline that has any of those symptoms should immediately go to their veterinarian and discuss the possibility of bobcat fever. So look for that to be making some headlines. So, all right. Now, if the exactly. Now, if the animals get into the garbage cans, what? Yeah, the trash pandas. Yeah, when the raccoons get into, what are we going to do with it? Do you just throw it away? I mean, they're not saying anything about that. I'm sure if you did a deep dive on that, there's probably some hidden memo to Walmart's to put them in special containers for guys in suits to pick up. So, all right, we're going to follow up on this story. I have talked about this story ad nauseum, but we're going to read this one. This comes to us from the Daily Mail because, well, the U.S. media didn't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. A white man who has been initially identified by police as a victim of the viral Cincinnati brawl is now the 8th person to be charged over the fight. The unidentified man, he's 45, has been charged with, quote, disorderly conduct, which is a 4th-degree misdemeanor, for his, quote, alleged role in the brawl, which left 6 people injured last month. Footage of the wild beatdown, which broke out in the early mornings of 26 July, shocked the nation. No, it shocked the nation that the media is finally showing it. I have been in public safety for quite a while. This is not uncommon. It just got out. 6 people were left severely injured after a large group descended upon several people outside a nightclub. A man in a white t-shirt was shoved to the ground and beaten by 2 men as other members of the crowd jeered and joined in, with only one calling 911. The group beat the man for nearly a minute as he lay in the middle of the street, appearing to step on his head multiple times. They even did a WWE move on him. When the barrage of attacks temporarily stopped, the victim was seen attempting to stand but immediately fell over in apparent disorientation. A woman identified only as Holly had attempted to break up the fight before she was knocked unconscious and fell. It says to fell to the floor. No, she fell to the outside the pavement. Brutal images show the woman suffered a black eye and swollen bruised face. I actually said a broken orbit. But the victim claimed police act, quote, nonchalant when they arrived at the scene and did not call for backup or an ambulance. Now, remember, I said this earlier. Why did these people not get offered medical care? This was something I said from day one, that none of the police called for an ambulance. And here's a picture of the poor girl. Here's pictures of the bad guys that had been arrested. And talked about Holly defended her actions that night, noting that she was the only person who decided to jump in and help the man because it was, quote, the right thing to do. The man who is scheduled to appear in court on 26 August is the 8th person to be charged in relation to the brutal fight in downtown Cincinnati. The charges against him have brought criticism from the community leader, Reverend Damon Lynch, who believed the arrests were racial motivated. Okay, let me reread that. Well, no, that's right. When I see the mugshots, I only see people who look like me. That's something he said on the news. I don't see the person who re-engaged. And so until we see all the mugshots, this is still a racial issue. And so these are the names of the bad guys. They were all charged and they were awaiting either trial or they're in jail or out on bond. There's also one that apparently had a gun, which luckily was never pulled. There's a picture of Holly. These are other individuals who were arrested in the melee. Some have posted bond. Others are still in jail, as we talked about. And they're still on the hunt for one other guy that was involved. Apparently this guy right here, asking for the public to assist in helping. So if we remember, the brawl shocked the nation and J.D. Vance was commented on it. And so, but wonder why they're charging the white guy now. The one that was beat down, they're charging him. And a lot of people are saying it's because high-profile leaders that did not look like the white guy were calling for it. Just saying. All right, we talked about yesterday the driver from India that caused damage to the infrastructure in Arkansas with a collapsed bridge and killed 3 in Florida. If you follow the headlines, he has failed an English reading test. He could not identify proper highway signs, according to the Florida Highway Patrol. So if you follow that, there's a lot of stuff going on, but apparently this is not the only one. Alabama truck driver in deadly collision. They were here on work visas. 2 truck drivers involved in the deadly collision killed 2 people in Thomasville, Alabama, were reportedly in the U.S. on work visa. The FBI has reportedly joined the investigation into the crash due to the 2 drivers not being from the United States, according to WKRG. A Russian translator had to be called to the scene because one of the drivers, Andriy Dmitrienko, did not speak English. 31-year-old Deans Kushner was his passenger and also in the U.S. on a work visa. They're going to pay, Thomasville police chief said. We can't make the loved ones yesterday come back, but we can certainly make the ones responsible pay. A single mom of 2, 37-year-old Ashley Marie Springer McDonald, a local football coach, Woody Beck, died in the crash. Both were stopped at a red light when the truck plowed into vehicles from behind, according to WKRG. Around 11:51 a.m. on May 6th, a loaded semi-truck struck 4 vehicles from behind that were stopped for a red light on southbound Highway 43. Video shows no signs of him using the brakes as he struck 4 vehicles from behind that were stopped, according to a news release. Thomasville Mayor Sheldon Day suggested initially something may have happened medically to the driver involved in the crash, but WKRG reported that police say otherwise, given he was walking around fine after the crash and was taken to the hospital for a checkup. They found nothing. All they did was stop at the red light. It could have happened to anyone. Authorities will be investigating how he earned his CDL. Knowing 2 people lost their lives and others were injured in this devastation crash caused to the area, we need to get to the bottom of this. Our investigative team is going to leave no stone unturned. So, American truckers have welcomed reforms made by the Trump administration to restore enforcement of a rule that excludes foreign truckers from roads if they cannot read English language signs and instruction. This change is set by an executive order to be signed by Trump, said the report. The order tells the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, to ensure drivers violating English proficiency rules are placed out of service, enhancing roadway safety, and directs him to revamp other aspects of the trucking industry. My question is, this is like daddy having to tell us to do the right thing. So we have to have a president sign an executive order so that people on the road can speak English. That to me just seems like common sense. This is the part of the opinion section of the show. That's common sense. How the hell do you get a license if you can't read the manual? And don't give me a shit, well, they have manuals in foreign languages. The signs on the street aren't in foreign languages, so the book and tests shouldn't be in foreign languages. So can watch my subs drop, I'm sure. So I don't care. It has nothing to do with where you came from. It has everything to do with obeying the law and being able to pass a simple test. Now, mind you, I probably couldn't parallel park, so I'll be honest with that. All right, well, a blaze broke out aboard the USS New Orleans off the Okinawa coast. And apparently the Japan Coast Guard and military were helping the Navy battle the blaze that broke out aboard the amphibious assault transport docking ship off the Okinawa southeastern coast Wednesday night. Crews are responding to a fire aboard the USS New Orleans this evening, August 20th, I'm talking about Japan time, which is in the vicinity of Okinawa, Japan. The U.S. 7th Fleet wrote in an unsigned statement emailed to Stars and Stripes, "We will provide more details as they become available." Task Force 76 spokesman Lieutenant Commander John Mike acknowledged additional email and phone inquiries but did not provide responses. Camp Foster sent a message to Japan Coast Guard about 5 p.m. stating there was a fire aboard the San Antonio class vessel near the White Beach Naval Facility. According to a Coast Guard release, crew is currently engaged in firefighting efforts, but we've requested the Japan Coast Guard to assist with firefighting, according to the message. No injuries or oil spills were reported, according to the second Coast Guard release. Fire started in the front part of the 684-foot-long vessel, a Coast Guard spokesman told Stars and Stripes. "We do not know if it started on the outside or the inside. We are still investigating." 2 tugboats and an unspecified self-defense force vessel were participating in firefighting efforts at 6 p.m. local time. And they withdrew from the firefighting requests at 5:55 and asked all vessels to stay a mile away. And the Coast Guard initially dispatched 1 vessel and was preparing to join firefighting efforts as of 8:30 p.m. Japan time. I have to bring up to see what time it is in Japan right now. But so they are fighting a fire on a Navy vessel. It's going to be the most horrifying thing. I mean, they're close to land, but that's going to be one of the most horrifying things if you're out to sea and have a fire. So Chris says John Mike is the perfect name for a lieutenant commander. All right, so this is causing some controversy. And, well, no, this comes to us from the Hill. We're talking about the Secretary Nome, her free stay in military housing after death threats have sparked some Democrat barbs. Homeland Security Kristi Noem has been staying rent-free in the home reserved for the top Coast Guard official following death threats, drawing scrutiny and criticism from congressional Democrats. Hey, here's a thought, Democrats. Stop telling people to attack them and dox them. The Department of Homeland... And Crockett was on the news telling all white people to leave Texas before we came on the air. Stop. Be adults. The Department of Homeland Security said it was a wide range of death threats as well as reporting that showed around Nome's Navy Yard condo that spurred unusual arrangement between Joint Base Anacostia and the Coast Guard where the Coast Guard Commandant typically lives. Following the media's publishing of Secretary Nome's Washington, D.C. apartment, so the media doxed her. She has faced vicious doxing on the dark web and a surge in death threats, including those from terrorist organizations, drug cartels, criminal gangs that the DHS targets. Due to the threats and security concerns, she has been forced to temporarily stay in secure military housing. Nome continues to pay rent for her Navy Yard residence. The Assistant Secretary of Public Affairs, Tricia McLaughlin, said in a statement. The move has prompted criticism from some Democrats who say Nome is improperly using military resources used for cabinet officials traditionally pay fair market value to stay in federal housing that otherwise would be occupied by top military officials. Federal government coffers are not Nome's personal piggy bank, and Coast Guard service members are not her servants. Nome must pay her part. If she requires accommodations for her security, she should brief Congress and request appropriate resources, not take over property from the Coast Guard, according to Representative Benny Thompson, a Democrat from Mississippi. The Washington Post first reported that she was staying in the Commandant's residence rent-free, while the Daily Mail first reported, where the hell did that go? Well, the Daily Mail first reported her moved there in July. McLaughlin went on to criticize the Post for choosing again to publish where she is staying, endangering her security. It's a shame that the media chooses sensationalism over the safety of people, enforcing America's laws to keep America safe. But Democrats argue the arrangement takes advantage of the Coast Guard. an argument that comes after Nome has faced fire for routinely using the service's jet. Now, she's been using that ever since she took office. The quarters for the Coast Guard Commandant would typically be held by Admiral Kevin Lundy, the number 2 official who is leading the Coast Guard in an acting capacity, but who has not yet been nominated. Senator Chris Murphy, a Democrat, told the Post the Commandant's house is not a vanity residence and that Nome is essentially taking the property from the military. It's a real insult to the brave men and women who are protecting our shores that she thinks this house belongs to her instead of the Coast Guard. While cabinet officials are not provided housing, military personnel are giving a housing allowance based on their rank, family size, and location. According to the Post, Coast Guard members typically use those funds to pay for a lease, including at Joint Base Anacostia Bowling. Nome has previously come under fire for tapping into Coast Guard resources. In May, the Coast Guard added $50 million to their budget request in order to fund the purchase of a new plane that would largely be used by Nome, sparking outrage by the Democrats. I was horrified last Friday when we received a last-minute addition for a plan to spend in fiscal 2025 a new $50 million Gulfstream for Nome and her personal travel coming from the Coast Guard's budget. She already has a Gulfstream 5, by the way. This is a new one. Representative Lauren Underhill, the top Democrat in the House Appropriations Subcommittee on Homeland Security, said at the time. And the Homeland Security has defended the request. The current CG 101G550, wow, is well over 20 years old. It's outside of the service life and well beyond operational usage hours for corporate aircraft. This is a matter of safety, much like the Coast Guard ships that are well beyond their service life and safe operational usage. Coast Guard aircraft are too. The administration is taking action to restore our nation's finest maritime armed service to a capable fighting force. Post on Friday reported Nome has been using the Coast Guard jet extensively since taking office, including for 9 personal trips to South Dakota. Federal law requires those trips to be reimbursed at the same cost as a seat on a commercial flight, which McCaughlin told the Post Nome has done. Thompson on Friday referenced the jet as another example of her stretching the resources of the Coast Guard. If Secretary Nome is living rent-free in military housing, she should be ashamed. Reports that she is also using Coast Guard executive jets for extensive personal travel are just as despicable. Secretary Nome's focus seems to be on pampering herself at taxpayers' expense, even as she directs the inhumane and unlawful treatment of so many, he said. Wonder how many of them use a personal jet to fly around and don't pay a damn thing. That would be an interesting article to have. Let's catch up over here. Chris says, whoever invented political parties might be right up there. The people who created nuclear war as the largest threat to humanity. Can't argue that, Chris. I can't argue that. I can't argue that at all. All right, so this is going to piss off some people. Warning, do I need to hit a warning in advice? Do I need to hit a sounding saying warning in advance? So need to find a button. There's no, oh, that wasn't it. There, no, that wasn't it. Ah, hell, we'll just do it without it. There you go. You've been warned. This could trigger you. The acting U.S. attorney points out bizarre trend in California anti-ICE rioter cases. A top prosecutor in California says most suspects his office has charged in anti-deportation riots are U.S. citizens. He's calling this trend bizarre. Acting U.S. Attorney Bill Esley noticed a trend among more than 50 suspects charged with crimes stemming from violent protests against federal immigration enforcement in California, he told the Daily Caller News Foundation. The Trump appointee said the mob violence said that brought national attention since June shines a light on a popular culture favoring illegal immigrations under Democrat California Governor Gavin Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass. I find it very fascinating that U.S. citizens are fighting so hard to prevent the deportation of illegal immigrants. It's quite bizarre, to be honest with you. he told the DCNF. And one thing that's very shocking to me, whether it's the defendants or the politicians, I've never seen people fight so hard for foreign nationals. I wish these politicians like Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass fought this hard for American citizens, said Isaiel, I don't know how to pronounce that, a former California state lawmaker. I've never seen anything like it, and I've been in their legislature. I've been in the political world. I've never seen them fight this hard or aggressively for Americans, so you have to ask yourself what's really going on here. Newsom and Bass have criticized local immigrations and customs enforcement as targeting innocent people, with Bass declaring that ICE is waging a reign of terror on her city. In her city, Newsom's administration also blamed President Donald Trump for anti-rice riots in the state, saying he deliberately sowed chaos through immigration raids, sending the National Guard in to stop disorder. Esley says he expects some of the cases to go to trial and that he will work to prevent potential courtroom bias. The government's entitled to fair trial just as much as the defendant is, so we will be fighting for that. But at the end of the day, no, our jury pool here does draw from the community. So we want to make sure that we have a robust voir dire process. We'll be screening jurors, making sure they can be fair and impartial, which is what they're entitled to. He says the American public has learned much about the political violence since the deadly Black Lives Matter riot in 2020, including how mob violence is sometimes organized and premeditated. The Small Business Administration said in July that the anti-ICE riots caused an estimated $1 billion in damage to LA. That's what we're going to be looking into, he said, about any evidence of the orchestration. The presence of union leaders, activist groups at recent chaotic protests is another indicator of the trend. During the June riot, protesters repeatedly hand out protective face shields, earplugs, gas masks, and water bottles to one another and shot fireworks at the police, painting a picture of coordinated civil unrest. Federal officials have also accused a man of purchasing mortars and fireworks in New Mexico, with plans to travel to LA and kill law enforcement officers during the June demonstrations. In July, people defending a cannabis farm from an ICE raid in California allegedly threw a tear gas canister near federal agents' head and fired shots at them during a demonstration, encouraged by the leftist groups. A federal probe into potential funding behind the violence is ongoing, he told the DCNF. Potential charges could include conspiring to assault or impede agents or even wire fraud. The 2020 riots also showed that America can't tolerate political violence. It has to be rooted out and stomped out quickly. And the next piece I'm going to read you, should I warn you now? It's going to offend some people. But this is an opinion of this publication's Dennis Warden. He's the publisher, and this is his letter. As a business owner, I am very jealous of Adam Swart. His business has increased by up to 400% over the last year. That is phenomenal. Swart is the CEO of Crowds on Demand, a California company that pays people from $100 to $500 a day to protest. According to Swart, there is no such thing as a truly organic protest. This includes the protests currently happening in Washington, D.C., the No King's Day protests around the country, and the protests/riots in Los Angeles. Paid protesters make an issue seem more significant than it is. When hundreds of protesters show up within a few minutes, early in the morning or late at night, they are being paid. Another tip that these guys are funded is the fact that they have tactical gear. Tactical gear is extremely expensive. The fact they are passing out hundreds of tactical gear uniforms is an indication that there is some money. Who is funding these groups? Swart questioned. Swart said to also look out for legal payouts that are disguised as support. Instead of direct cash payments, groups offer expensive legal defense packages and luxury accommodations as a workaround, compensating legal action without ever calling it that, he explained. Support costs for each protester depends on location, the duration, and any challenges, for example, cold weather or early morning. Crowds on Demand states that it employs people for, quote, peaceful and law-abiding protests. On August 13th, the Metropolitan Police Department in Washington, D.C. conducted a traffic safety compliance checkpoint, which they have been doing weekly since 2023, according to the spokesperson. These checkpoints are an educational enforcement tool used to encourage safe driving and hold violators accountable. Well, it was different this time. Trump, just 2 days earlier, had announced he was using Section 40 of D.C. Home Rule Act to legalize federal D.C. Police Department. Because of this, protesters were on the street at the checkpoint to harass officers who were doing their job to make the city safer. Any driver who has driven for more than a couple of years has been through a traffic safety checkpoint. Another day, protester accused D.C. police officers of being Nazis. You will never know a moment of peace. People are hired to do more than protest Donald Trump's policies. Public relations firms often hire protesters to create a specific narrative. Lobbyists hire individuals to influence public opinion on legislation. Companies may also pay someone to protest online or in person to amplify their message. Political advertising in the U.S. is recognized as a form of, quote, free speech protected by the U.S. Constitution. I sell advertising for political campaigns and issues. I'm well versed in both state and national laws that mandate disclosure of funding sources. These laws require political ads to clearly state who paid them, helping voters know who is behind the message being presented. This applies to all forms of political advertising, including TV, radio, newspaper, and online. If it's paid for, it must include a tagline stating who forked out the money to pay for the message. Failure to comply can result in penalties and fines. Protesting is also included on that list of protections by the Constitution under the guise of free speech. Billionaires like George Soros are known to funnel huge sums of money to political action committees, PACs. When those PACs spend money on political advertisements, we know where they come from. Currently, there is no way to find out who is paying the protesters used to affect politics, or along the way don't know who pays for advertising. Are the funds coming from a billionaire like Soros, or is it coming from a foreign country trying to affect our government? That needs to change. Any paid protester should be required to wear some form of identification showing who they are being paid for. Currently, groups and individuals are anonymously spending millions, maybe billions, to change America. That should anger and scare you, no matter what side of the aisle you are on. All right, so there you go. And Chris says, paying protesters because you don't have the real thing is really not much different than the Smollett creating a hate crime when none existed. Agreed. I can't argue with you, Chris. You're making some valid points. Let's see. So, well, we're not doing too bad. And so Kid Rock goes, quote, nuts over California's Gavin Newsom's fake endorsement poster. So apparently the loud and proud Trump supporter was not happy with the latest anti-social media troll. California Governor Gavin Newsom has been in all caps role lately, trolling the Trump White House. And he has expertly approximated the shouting out the window tone of many Donald Trump social missives while taking aim at the president, his administration members, and Fox News supporters in satire on X. But over the weekend, he appeared to cross the line when he brought vocal Trump pal Kid Rock into the fray. In a clearly photoshopped poster mimicking the iconic Uncle Sam Wants You for the World War Army recruitment posters, Newsom's team threw up an image of Rock in red, white, and blue top hat and matching suit in front of the American flag with the message, Kid Rock wants you to support Gavin Newsom. Extending the clearly fake endorsement, Newsom's personal account added thanks at Kid Rock in seeming appreciation of the unexpected endorsement from the rocker turned country singer who labeled Trump as an American badass in January. Well, as you would imagine, Kid Rock, he's age 54, didn't love it. In a response to the post, "Don't tell me how to live," the singer wrote. "The only support Newsom gets out of me will be D's nuts," repurposing one of Trump's pet nicknames for the California politician. Newsom went on all this week on his challenge of Trump to call off a cycle redistricting in Texas that Republicans hold a slim House margin by asking Californians to redistrict the state. The Rock AI post appeared to be a callback to a Trump post last year in which the former reality TV shared a clearly cooked up image of Taylor Swift, falsely claiming the singer had endorsed him. Trump has repeatedly said that he hates Swift, recently lashing out at the world's biggest pop star by claiming that he can't stand her, hate, and that she is, quote, no longer hot. Newsom didn't miss the opportunity to troll either, with the governor's press office writing on Tuesday, "I hate Kid Rock." You know, can we just stop? Can we be adults? So this is the person that is responsible for those posts, because Newsom is probably busy doing whatever it is they do. So he's hired out an agency, and this is the lady that's in charge of it, Camilla Zapata. She's the head of his press office. Her and her small team have met all of Trump's all-cap posts with similar tone and cadence, but even before those tweets, Newsom's Instagram Reels and TikToks had already begun the all-out troll, the master-in-chief. So you can go read all about her, but apparently her and her team are online 24 hours a day, scouring all through social media to find something to make a meme about to harass the other side of the aisle. Why? Why? This is what we did in high school. Jesus. All right, so this is going to be an upcoming headline, and I'm just going to highlight it real quickly. Venezuela mobilizes, they've called out their draft, 4.5 million militia members as U.S. is deploying troops to the Caribbean. So what we're doing, the U.S. has sent 2 warships to Venezuela, and, well, now their response is going to be they're calling up their military. So I'm not sure if this will end up being an all-out escalation, but apparently we're flexing and they're flexing at the same time. So don't look for it to end well. It's not going to end well. All right, I stop. All right, let's get into our daily briefing here, because that's what we do here. Let's see here. Let me catch up on the comments. Strange that's not considered misinformation like the so-called Russian bots the left said were brought and not really affecting elections. True. Cooked up images showing support for a candidate is like buying protesters to make others think more people have a problem with an issue than they really do. Agreed. Why can't we stand up there, tell us what you're going to do, and then effing do it? And if the other side doesn't like it, they bring a speaker to come up there and say what they don't like about it and what they're going to effing do, and then handle it peaceably through either legislation or law. Well, it's the same thing. Through governing. How about that? Let me rephrase that. Through actual governing. We don't need parents up there or kids up there. We need adults. And right now on both sides, we got kids. All right, that was the Sportcat rant for a moment. I'm sure there'll be more. So today we're going to talk about the FEMA Daily Operations Briefing for Tuesday, August 19th, 2025, as presented at 8:30 a.m. this morning. So they're not monitoring anything new, which I really find interesting because we've got a huge hurricane off our coast. But they're hazard monitoring heavy rain, flash flooding, southeastern U.S. and southern Appalachia. Hey, that's me. Excessive heat in the southwest and lower Mississippi Valley. And we're talking about tropical activity in the Atlantic. Erin, she was Cat 3 at 8:30, And then we have 2 disturbances right behind her. And in the western Pacific, we have 1 disturbance. In the tropical outlet, we see the little dot Erin. She's much bigger than that, and she's moved to the north more. And we see this one, which is disturbance 1, and they're saying it has about a 60% chance, while this one only has 30. I think that's actually been increased for this one, the second one. So at 8 a.m., she was northwest, traveling northwest at 7 miles an hour and 110 miles an hour. And they forecast her track to continue to the north and then hopefully push off to the east, but she is still traveling northwest at 7. And the most likely arrival of winds, well, guess what? They're coming for you. You're going to start feeling them in the south, and then the coast is going to be affected by late this afternoon into the evening. And the peak storm surge, they're estimating for the coast of Carolina, North Carolina, to be 1 to 3 to 2 to 4, depending on where you're located. The central and east Pacific, there's really no activity over the next 7 days. And this one's really a nothing story. It's just out there to see, causing a storm. All right, so this is going to bring heavy rains to the coast, obviously, but we're going to see spotty showers all the way up from Maine down to Florida, back over to Arizona, up through the Four Corners, back over to the Great Lakes. You're going to see spotty showers today. As temperatures come in, expect a few thunder boomers in this area, the middle part of the country. I'm sorry to the Dakotas. You will probably get a little bit as that cold front comes down and continues to move to the east, southeast. And we're anticipating some heavy rain in the Appalachia, North Georgia mountains, following the Appalachia all the way up to Southwest Virginia. Wednesday, we'll take a closer look at this on the national to NOAA's website. But we're going to see the storm's going to move up to the east with heavy rains going from the Chesapeake through the Delmarva up into the New York, then to the New England regions by Thursday. Excessive heat, yes, it's here. From the Mississippi River almost past Kentucky up into Indiana is extreme heat. Well, pretty much if you're in the south, it's a hot one. Temperatures could be as high as 104 in Louisiana today, and back over in Phoenix, 108. We'll take a look at that in a minute. The fire in Utah, the Monroe Canyon, still at 80%. The Lee Fire at 60%. And then the Sunset Fire in Idaho, 0%. And the Red Canyon in Wyoming at, 28%. I did sleep last night. I didn't sleep well. All right. So space weather outlook. NOAA is saying there's nothing going on, but there is some scientists warning that there could be a solar storm coming because there's going to be a black moon this weekend, whatever the hell that means. I haven't researched that yet, so don't hold me to that one, but it's supposed to be different than an eclipse. I haven't researched it yet, so I can't tell you, but it's coming this weekend. So the FEMA offices have 17 activated throughout the country with 64 major disasters, 7 emergency declarations, one of them being the entire state of North Carolina. We're still working to repopulate and house 12 separate missions. And we have 9 supported disasters working. When they say supported, that's being worked through state, federal, local agencies and assistance from outside resources. And then 6 joint recovery offices are up and working. So we'll continue to see that change. Let's look at the president's schedule for today. I want to update it because, well, he changes it throughout the day. All right, here we go. So we'll go back and look to see yesterday. Did we miss anything? Well, he signed a bill at 1 o'clock. I didn't know what time it was. And then at 4:19, she takes part of the press pool to the patio on the Rose Gardens to visit the site and do equipment testing and setup. All right. And then at 6:07, there was a full lid called. At one point in time, I don't know if it was during the 4:19 one, she had a fit and threw the press out. I didn't read what that was about, but apparently she got testy with them. This morning, 9 a.m. was the normal time for the White House pool. And in 11:32, there was a press office lunch lid, meaning that everybody in the White House stays in the White House and has lunch, or you don't get in. And then at 4 o'clock, the president is participating in a swearing-in ceremony for the U.S. ambassador to the EU. I don't know who that is. All right, let's go over here. The next thing we'll look at WRC because, well, they update everything. Live updates on the Trump administration. Defense chiefs meet on Ukraine. Texas GOP members to vote on redistricting. Vance and Hegseth visit National Guard troops amid the crackdown. That was 20 minutes ago. And judge denies Justice Department request to unseal Epstein grand jury transcripts. He said that the federal judge in New York who presided over the sex trafficking case against the late financier has rejected the government's request to unseal the transcripts. All right. And now there's a debate over the Texas redistricting map, and it centers on why? It centers on race. So, like I said, one of the senators was telling white people to leave Texas. Texas can't require the 10 Commandments in every public school classroom, according to a judge. More than 90 people were arrested in D.C. last night, according to the White House. Made 91 arrests last night, one for armed robbery, according to the White House. Other arrests include one for assault with a deadly weapon, outstanding warrants for child abuse, and involuntary manslaughter. Law enforcement have seized 8 illegal firearms. The arrest included 25 undocumented immigrants. The official said many of them had criminal histories, including threats to kidnap or injure a person and drug possession, but did not specify the number. They said this brings the arrest to the total number of people since this started to more than 550. It was how many days ago? 500 divided by that number, but there's no crime. So court documents shed light on Janine Priero's efforts to secure a Trump pardon for her ex-husband. All right. Apparently, she contacted Trump and other allies to get her husband, Albert, a pardon after he sought one during his first term by filing election technology company. Okay, I don't know anything about that. Apparently, Trump has ordered Homeland to paint the entire border wall black. Okay. Trump says federal governor Lisa Cook must resign after William Pulte alleges mortgage fraud. Trump said on Truth Social that Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook must resign. All right. Texas Democrats to introduce Epstein file amendment to GOP redistricting legislation. The new map would block going until, all right. They're saying they're not going to do the new map until the complete release of the file. That's silly. That's like a state trying, they just said they weren't going to, whatever. D.C. federal prosecutors instructed not to seek felony charges for people carrying long guns in the city. D.C. federal prosecutors were instructed to not seek felony charges against people carrying rifles or shotguns in the city, according to the D.C. U.S. Attorney. The move, first reported by the Post, marks a dramatic shift from previous policy and comes as the Trump administration moved to send hundreds of federal agents into the Capitol streets. Criminal culpability is not determined by the instruments people employ, but the intent and conduct of the actor, U.S. Attorney Janet Prieo said in a statement. Crimes are intentional acts and will be prosecuted to the fullest extent by the office, regardless of what instrument of criminality they used. She said that her office would charge suspects with any violent crimes with long guns or firearms trafficking, such as the sale of guns to prohibited persons. But possession of a rifle or shotgun outside the home or at a place of business will not result in charges as it had in the past. Police officers have seized at least 68 firearms since the law enforcement began in August 7th, according to statistics released by the White House. Most firearms are related to handguns, not long guns. And let's see, Hamas is accepting a ceasefire. Didn't we just say they had back in 1980, they agreed to peace? And Texas Republicans, they're going to vote on the map. NATO defense chiefs meet on security guarantees to Ukraine. So there you go. And people see the all-white, this is from Chris, people see the all-white Gavin Newsom and J.B. Pritzker are running out of their states and think it's easy. That takes bad governance and overtaxation to get these kind of results. Chris, you're on fire today. I love it. Let's see. Let me update this because it's got to draw its new map. There we go. Let me make this bigger. All right, so this is, of course, the National Weather Services update for the day, and this is their morning update, I still believe. Nope. 4, no. How could it be entered at 4:20? Am I missing time here or something? That's the Zulu time. But it says Eastern Daylight. Oh, 4:26 a.m. I was saying, good Lord, what's going on here? All right, so this was their morning report. And they're showing on today, Hurricane Aaron still off the coast, causing rain to the coastline, extending into deep into the Appalachia. And then tomorrow, we're going to see it move up, and it's going to continue to pound heavy rains all up along the coast. We're going to keep an eye and see which way it continues. We're hoping it continues to the east. These fronts coming down are going to bring cooler temperatures and hopefully push her out to sea. On day 3, they're prognosticating that the rain is going to be gone except for out to sea. So in other words, the rain in the south should stop on Thursday. I don't know that I buy this, but they're saying that you'll only see spotty showers from Virginia down through Mississippi, back over to Texas and Florida, with her moving out to the east. I don't know if I'm buying that one. All right, let's see here. The chances of tornadoes today are very slim, except for North Dakota. It's very slim chance, but there are some heavy winds in the Gulf of America extending up to the Appalachia. And then as this cold front comes down, it's going to be affecting the Dakotas. And it's saying there's a slight chance for hail up in North Dakota with the thunderstorms. All right, we're going to look at the National Hurricane Center here real quick. Let's see if we can get an update on it. See if there is an update. All right, so we're looking at Aaron, and let's just go and look right at Aaron. She's expected to produce life-threatening surf rip currents along the beaches and Bahamas, much of the east coast of the U.S. and Bermuda and Atlantic Canada during the next several days. Beachgoers should avoid those areas. Storm surge, flooding, and tropical storms conditions are expected in North Carolina, the Outer Banks, beginning later today. The storm surge will be accompanied by large waves, leading to significant beach erosion and overwash, making some roads impassable. Tropical storm conditions on Thursday are going to move up the Virginia coast. Wind gusts to tropical force are likely along portions of the remainder of the U.S. mid-Atlantic and southern New England coast Thursday through Friday. Tropical storm conditions are possible in Bermuda on Thursday and Friday. And we look here at the wind speed probabilities. I want the one. Well, that wasn't what I wanted. Nope. Morning cones. Is that the one? Nope. Well, that's a good one, but it shows us their prediction of her moving to the northeast soon. But that's not the one I wanted. Arrival time of the winds. The arrival time of the winds. Here we go. And on. Yes, that's what I wanted. I wish I could make this bigger. So we look here and we see that she's going to be producing some winds, which are going to start affecting the coast anytime now from the deep southern part of North Carolina, and they're going to extend up into the Chesapeake. And we're looking at winds. They're saying in this map, this is her most recent edition, the 11 a.m., are only going to get up to maybe the 20s with gusts in the 30, but she's shifted slightly, so we'll have to watch and see where that goes. I want to see where satellite imagery. This is what I want. And I want high res. So this is the most recent satellite. Can I not? Oh, I can do that. And we see her clouds are starting to extend into the coastline of South Carolina up into North Carolina. We just look at just look how large she is. Goodness gracious. I mean, Bermuda is like right over here. It's over there. This is such a wide storm with such dangerous winds, and it's compact going out. Let's look at visible. And we see her over here. In this one, we can see where this is the visible satellite. So this is showing the lower clouds as well. So we see the clouds starting to extend to the Carolinas, and they're already up into the Chesapeake Bay. I mean, just look at how large she is. And as she continues this northward track, it could be trouble for the Delmarva and the coast of North Carolina. We need to keep a real close eye on that over the next few hours. And let's see. And this just shows you how angry that storm is. And we look and see, we'll look in a minute and see the electrical activity on it. But I mean, like I said, Bermuda is right over here and the coast is there. And look how wide this storm is. That is just impressive. So she's trying to get tighter again as she's going into these warmer waters, is what I saw him saying earlier on the news. And let's see, one last look here. Well, let's see. Which one was it? No. I've lost my way. Okay, nope, that wasn't it. And water vapor wasn't it. Okay, all right. Well, anyhow, you can see what a dangerous storm she is. If we look out there, the Atlantic, I mean, look how large she is. Whew. And what high winds. I wish I could get one that showed the, I guess I can. All right. Well, can I get, well, what does this one do? Okay, that's as the sunlight comes. You can see, look at her track. She is still moving north on this track. So, and this is as of 1740 Zulu. So that's 1 hour ago. And she's still moving north as of 1 hour ago. She hasn't turned yet. That's the dangerous part of this storm. And just look at her spinning there. She's just continuing. She is traveling north. So those bands are going to really affect the Outer Banks. And we really want her to turn. We really want her to turn. And just look at the violent storm she's already lashing out on the coastline. So if she continues to move north and tightens up, that's going to be trouble. So everybody keep your weather radio handy and be prepared. Because, well, we've pretty much looked at all this already, but there's the most recent image of her. So, yeah, be weather aware. Please, if you do not have one, buy a weather radio. I need to find one and give some product demonstrations of them. Unfortunately, Mrs. Sportcat doesn't give me a great budget. So if anybody wants to donate to the cause, and I'll buy several weather radios and we'll have a show just talking about them and how they work. Of course, I'm an amateur radio operator. I can go into a little more detail. I'd be glad to do it if anybody wanted to donate to the cause. Just let me know. All right, so this is the latest satellite, which we just discussed. Let's get into some weather prognostication here. Washington, D.C., well, cloudy today with a high of 83. Chicago, you're looking at high of 74 with cloudy skies. New York, well, you've got rainy skies, a high of 72. And then we get up here into Burlington, Vermont, high of 68 and cloudy. Over in LA, we'll hop down south to our friends down under in just 1 second. 89 in LA is your high, sunny skies. Seattle, well, Seattle, you're looking at a high today of 72, sunny skies. And we see they've already put in disturbance 1 with its possible development areas, and then disturbance 2, which you're saying is going to take place. And look back here. Boom. There's another one. We're not out of this yet. Let's go down to Australia so we don't let our friends feel left out down there, because I do appreciate everybody at Radio X and Dare Talk Media for allowing me to tickle your ears. Well, in Brisbane, you're going to have a high of 67. It's going to be rainy. Sydney, you're going to have a high of 62, and you're going to be raining too. Melbourne, well, Melbourne, you're going to have a high of 66, but sunny skies. Up in Townsville, it's going to be a little warmer at 78, cloudy sky. Cairns, you're looking at 79 with partly cloudy skies. Darwin, going over to Darwin, well, high of 89 and sunny skies. We'll jump down to Port Hedland, and we see it's 78 with sunny skies. And in Perth, your high is going to be 62. South Australia, well, you're going to have sunny skies and pretty much a high of around 67. Alice Springs, not to leave you out, high of 77, but sunny skies. Queensland is pretty much going to have sunny skies with highs in the 80s today. Did I mention Adelaide? I don't know if I did or not. High of 63 and cloudy today. So that is our forecast for them. And was there anywhere else we wanted to do a forecast for? we have talked so much about the southeast United States and the mid-Atlantic region, but look how this one's already pushing towards Bermuda. Bermuda needs to keep its eye on that one, and Floridians need to keep its eye on this one. So, all right, let's move on. We're here. This is our AI-generated wind, which pretty much we have talked ad nauseum about wind today, so I don't know if we want to get too carried overboard. But there we can see the winds. We can change this to waves too. So let's change it to waves here in 1 second. And we can see the winds are already impacting, according to the AI art generated, it's already affecting the coastline with it pulling in. Let's look at, let's do the waves. And we look there. Wow, look at how far she is pushing out. Let's see. Can we see? Yeah, I mean, look how far from the center of that storm she is churning and pushing out. Another thing somebody brought to my attention, her winds start at the bottom of the storm and go up. But because she's a three-dimensional storm, those winds at the upper level spin out even further and can influence weather even as far back as the Appalachians and the Texas Panhandle because of her particular three-dimensional form. We see there the current is trying to go out, but she's affecting it and pushing hard. So that's what's causing, if you look right there, perfect example of rip currents. You see the coastline, currents are going this way, but the tide's going this way, and this is pushing against it to go that way. So perfect example of the rip tides along the coast right there from Florida up to pretty much the tip of North Carolina. Perfect example, actually a beautiful example of. We did waves, right? Yeah, we did waves. And we do. That shows the movements of just the ocean that she's changing. Look at the energy that she's producing and going outward, all that energy. And we'll look at particles real quick, and because I want to show you guys on this map, it'll give us a little bit better view. We talked about, all last week, we talked about the dust. It's going to cool the winds. It's going to cool the winds and because it won't be able to get warm. It's going to form ice particles. It's going to slow her down. She's just taken that right in with her and just churned and heated the ocean up as she's went through. And it's been very, very impressive. I don't think that did anything. But yeah, she's been a very crazy storm. So, all right, we'll zoom out real quick because I don't want my people down under to think I forgot them, because I do appreciate them, and I'm going to run over today. So I hope Radio X and Dare Talk Radio allow me to stay on we're going to stay on for about an extra half hour since Jurgs and I were engaged in deep conversation. The AI winds, we see pretty much all of the wind in Australia is coming out of the center of the continent, and it's swirling on both east and west sides, pulling down from the north. So you're going to have some northerly winds, which means you guys will get a little bit of a warm up today. Let's look at current warnings. First thing out of the gate, test message from Montgomery County, Maryland. Who knew? A flood advisory in Tennessee. Well, that's going to affect me later today. We have all kinds of small craft advisories from the coasts of Georgia all the way through the Carolinas. Special weather statements. That's in Volusia, Brevard County. And it's a marine weather statement. Virginia, you're already starting to issue some special weather statements. And Georgia, South Carolina, you have your high surf advisories and rip current statements. Then we have in the South, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, heat advisory, moderate, and some parts of the state will be extreme. California has a moderate heat advisory, and we have tropical storm warnings up here in the north starting. I brought this one up for you, Denise. So you see this tropical storms warning severity. This goes from 2:47 today. So this one just came out a few minutes ago. And goes till tomorrow at 6 a.m. So the coastal waters from Little Egg Inlet to Great Egg Inlet, New Jersey, outward 20 nautical miles from the coastal's water edge from Great Egg Inlet to Cape May. a tropical storm warning with winds exceeding 25 to 35 knots, gust up to 45, 12 to 17 foot waves. All right, so when? Well, they're putting this in effect now. It's going to go into effect, probably stay through tomorrow. So, Denise, I'm not sure if you're anywhere near those areas, but you can see they're starting to put warnings out. Actually, you're a little further north. Let's see, catch up here. And all kinds of beach hazard statements. There's another test. He just has to do these test messages. I don't understand. Coastal flood advisory. Yeah, but that's already moving up the coast, Denise. So let's go look at the map and see if we can zoom in and help you out a little bit more up here. So we see, from Tom's River. I've been to Tom's River. Coastal flood watch. That's extending all the way up with rip currents, and they're putting all kinds of things up there. High surf, rip current, coastal flood statement. So yeah, there's all kinds of warnings already starting to pop up. I think the closest tropical storm warning to you has only made it to Trenton, Denise, but it's just a matter of time before that comes up there. If we look, she's down here, and just look at the size of the storm. I mean, that is so impressive. So, so we see all along the coast, we've started to see the high flood warnings, the beach statements. Of course, the mandatory evacuation notices have already been put in place. Get out if you're in these places before it's too late. And they've already got, as KG reported, winds and water up to knee-deep level. So it's not going to get any better for the next few hours. Till tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening, if you're in North Carolina, I would advise staying away from the ocean. If you're on the Atlantic seaboard, except for maybe down past Miami, I would say stay out of the water on the Atlantic for the next 2 days as this finishes churning up and gets its energy out of the way. Zoom out real quick. See another tropical disturbance, and there's one forming there. And down here in Australia, doesn't look, maybe there's some rain in Sydney and Canberra. And let's see. Yeah, it's just, some heavy thunderstorms in Canberra and Sydney at this time, and one coming ashore north of Brisbane. So keep your eyes and ears out for that and your weather. And it looks as though in central Australia, there's some rain bands moving in from the south. But with those northerly winds, they should keep them pushed out. But that's going to cause some heavy storms over here on the east side. We're looking at Brisbane and Sydney, Canberra. What is this one? This is just radar of the world and pretty much what we just looked at. So we'll move on from this one. Let's look at the lightning activity, the electrical activity in these storms. It's top of the hour, 3 o'clock. If you're listening to us on Yerg's Radio, Radio X, Dare Talk Radio, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you letting us tickle your ears. Come over to YouTube and find us under the Sportcat shows. Join in the chat. I've probably already bored my audience to death. So, all right, let's look at the electrical activity, and we'll start trying to wrap down a little bit. We look and see in Mississippi, there's a big storm right there just north of Jackson, extending all the way up almost to Columbus, Tuscaloosa, even a little bit of electrical activity. Montgomery over to Columbus, Georgia. That's a pretty decent sized cell. And we have down in Marianne, which is just to the north of Panama City, a pretty decent storm down there. These storms, all this electrical activity from this on are being spun out from the activity from her three-dimensional chart. Remember, the worst side of the storm is the west. So all this energy is over here. It's spinning out and dissipating through the upper atmosphere. And that's a perfect map of how it's painting the Appalachia, where the winds are really stopping, where it's meeting that cold front. And it's causing those storms. Looks like I'm about to have some serious storms here around me and to the north of me up in Johnson City, over in Asheville. That line extends all the way through West Virginia, even into Lynchburg, Harrisburg, Virginia. I would say in the Washington, D.C. region later this afternoon. We can't get a good picture of her electrical activity or her radar image, but her electrical activity, we see these strong bands on the east side of the storm with a lot of electrical activity. And remember, since she is more than one shape, that energy is spinning around and coming out, and it's ending up back over here where it's hitting the Appalachia and it's battering the coast with waves and high winds. All right. Zoom out and go down to Sydney. Take a look. Well, it's storming Sydney. It has a little bit of electrical activity in it, so please be weather aware. It looks like it's mostly off the coast there of Sydney with the electrical activity, but please be weather aware. So this comes to us. If you want to check it out anytime, you can go to lightningmaps.org and check it out and see where the severity of the storm is. Let's bring this up and refresh this. I'm really surprised Texas is the state that we're seeing the most power outages currently. That's kind of surprising, actually. I would anticipate that would have been more over here, but we have Texas with 14,834 people without power, California at 9,448, Tennessee, well, it's going to affect me here in a little bit with those heavy storms, 6,848, Pennsylvania, you have 5,175 people without power, in Arkansas, 3,958. Let's see. We talk about the heat. I'm going to skip through this one real quick because it looks like the hottest right now is Phoenix at 106, Houston, you're 94, New Orleans, the dirty city of the South, 93 with Jackson at 94, Tampa, you're at 92, and the Keys, it doesn't seem like it ever gets that hot down there. Washington, D.C., 83, and New York City, 71, Chicago, 74. And jump down here real quick in Australia, Brisbane, 57, Sydney, 60, Melbourne, 39, Adelaide, 53, 55 in Perth, 67 in Port Hedland, Darwin, 70, Cairns at 70 as well. And we've talked about the heat risk. You see pretty much the other side of the Rockies over to the Sierra Nevada, extending from Canada to Mexico, and then down into the Panhandle, extending north up to, well, almost the mid-Atlantic region. And, of course, along the coastline down in and around Florida is where the heat warnings are for today. Take a look at the airflow and see if it will show us. It's slow today, like me. It's slow. Wow. That's unusual. Most of the country is green, which is unusual. You have pockets along the Appalachia that are yellow conditions, and you have pockets over in the upper Midwest and down along the Houston coastline that are yellow, but that's pretty impressive. All right. My allergies have been acting up, though. Explain that. All right. We have a fire. That's two fires down here. We have this mile marker 30, 1,600 acres in Florida burning. Fort Greene Road, 640 acres burning. In Houston, Marsuic, 600 acres. These are new fires. These are something new. We hadn't seen these. So Backbone, you have 2,409 acres burning. Most of the fires are to the west of the Rockies. And God love you up in Canada, you're burning. Just if you think of Canada right now, they're burning. Let's look at the airflow from the smoke. See, this is why I don't understand why we're green. It must be up in the higher atmosphere because most of the United States is covered under gray smoke today from the fires on the west in Canada where they're coming down. It's moving out to the east-northeast. I don't understand why we're all green. And here we have, I guess it's because in front of this storm in Erin, there's just not a lot of airflow. So it's the airflow that's being stagnant as far as it's going to be coming north. So it's kind of stagnant air, but again, she is in the middle. I want her to go west. Currently, she's not going west. And there is only a minor space warning for some solar wind. And the most recent earthquake, let's see, last hour. Most recent earthquake in Central California was a 2.6. So that's good news. No earthquakes down that way. All right. And let's look at the volcano. Well, today they're saying is moderate seismic activity for the world. That's their prognostication. And we have in Kilauea and Great Sitkin, you are both orange for your alert levels, and Spur is yellow. So please, if you're, well, Sitkin, you're over in Russia. I doubt you're listening to me. Maybe you are. I don't know. Let me know if you are. You can be careful because your volcano warning is orange. Kilauea, orange, Spur, yellow. And let's move away from this real quick. Let's go here because we're running out of time. I really don't want to press my luck with Australia. I know Jurgs and I ran over, but I don't want to press my luck. All right, so this is marine traffic, and look at the size of the storm. Look at how big of a circle it's made. I mean, tankers have stopped where they're at, trying to avoid the storm. The red is tankers, green is cargo. And if you're a cargo vessel, you want nothing to do with that storm. Nothing to do with it. So look at the area in the ocean is just unoccupied by marine traffic. Because if you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, if you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, you see as far as marine travel goes, it's almost everywhere. But that part of the earth right now where she's at, yeah, ain't touching it. And with her moving to the north, I would anticipate, they're already clearing a path ahead of her. So I assume all these, if they're not at port, they're coming in. And you can get all this by doing your marine watch. You can go over to marinetraffic.com and pull that up if you want. And what is this one? This is the FAA. I brought this up just to look. There's no meteorological warnings for out here. So I'm really confused as to how they could put out their notice when there's nothing issued for out here. I don't understand. Normally, I would think they would put something out. I must not have the right site. Looking at the red areas where there's no TAMs, meaning no aircraft traffic is allowed. Of course, Washington, we have this up here to the east of Pittsburgh. That's kind of new. I don't remember seeing that. Apparently in Altoona, they are not allowing anything above 200 feet. Okay, so there must be something going on there. And in Johnstown, Cambria County, 400 feet. All right, so you can only get a 400 feet. So there must be some reason for that. What's this one up here? A ceiling of 0 feet. All right, wherever that is. That must be I wonder if that's some kind of power, what do you call it? Hydro dam. I wonder if that's what that is. All right, sorry. Shiny. Got sidetracked. All right, so there you go. Denise, anything weird up there as far as New York for you in air travel? Well, it doesn't look like they got anything roped off for VIPs per se. DOD out of West Point is code orange, so there's a no fly zone over that. That's probably just testing, or it may just be normal. National Security, DOD out of the Picatinny, Florida Department of Army. I don't look for them to be doing much down here along the coastline. Let's see. Of course, we have Washington, D.C. with their normal one. And 0 feet at Wallop Island. That's got to be storm related. So where they've isolated it. But you can even see down here, Elizabeth City, the Coast Guard, 400 feet. All right. We'll move onwards because I know y'all are probably tired of hearing me talk. All right. So this is the air traffic. You can go to globeairplane.live and you can check it out. Look and see. We don't see anything militarily out flying towards there. I was hoping. We have yet to catch any NOAA traffic going in and out and measuring the storm. I really would be interested in seeing that. Talked about yesterday, there were some P8s. Well, there's an E2 that's been out. Oh, where's she been? She's been out here. So you have an E2, which is basically they are out here and they're at a flight of, they're not too high. They're only around 30,000 feet. They are picking up something. So there's a radius around them where they're picking up some kind of communication. So don't know what they're doing out there. We never know. That's just a government official. Why does the Netherlands got people up there? That makes no sense. All right. I don't see. Yeah, we saw lots of E8s out checking, and I would think that subs wouldn't be out in this water. I don't know how the subs would do with it, but it's hard to say. All right, we'll get off of this. I don't see any. Yeah, it's just fuel, so there are probably some fighter pilots out there. That's just trafficking or moving traffic around. Some of these areas, if you zoom in and do some research, you can find out they're doing something with either national security or DOD or perhaps Homeland. So you have to be careful what you talk about here. But you can see a lot of this is training, but I would bet down here it is not training. So I don't see any other planes flying along the coast on the west coast. So that's good news. So there doesn't appear to be anything off our coast. And weather balloons, nothing near the hurricane. That's interesting. All right. We're going to get out of here. I've probably talked you guys to death and bored you to death. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Is anybody still watching? So thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate all the support from you guys. If you want, aside from hitting the thumbs up and subscribing, if you want to support the channel, there's ways to do it via my PayPal link. I also have a fundraiser I'm doing for St. Jude's, so the show can win a contest if you want to donate to that. If you want to work, if you would like to help where we can get some weather radios and do some testing, I wouldn't mind doing that. But Mrs. Sportcat's put me on a tight leash, so my budget's a little slim. If anybody wanted to see one of those, let me know. We're on a tight leash because, well, here, I'll just show you why. Let me make myself full screen. Oh, well, thank you, KG. Make myself full screen for a minute because I'm on a tight leash because I have been buying and testing little lights I always talk about carrying a light in your pocket. And out of all of them so far, I have tested so far. I'm not doing an endorsement and I'm not paid for this because I bought God knows Mrs. Sportcat hates it. Ace Beam. This thing is tiny. It is tiny. And you can get just low light, flashlight, low light. We're going to do it. Low light up here. You can get to high, which is really bright for nighttime. And then if you were super high in case of emergency, it won't do that one long, but let me turn it off. Off. There we go. If you click it 3 times, this is what I think would be great for ladies to have. Click it 3 times. Look at that. You're not gonna find a flashlight for this price with this many features and that strobe. Go off, please. There we go. You can buy this on Amazon. Tiny, weighs next to nothing. It's got a USB-C. I'm not endorsing this. It's got a USB-C where you can just click it up, plug it in. Lasts with moderate use, Sportcat use, about 2 to 3 days. It's tiny. I mean, it's tiny. And it's a great thing. So that's one Mrs. Sportcat's got on me because I'm on this light buying thing. But just to show you, I always talk about you should carry a couple things in your pocket. I can't open this one, but I've got a letter opener there. They're both the same size. They both weigh next to nothing. So always have a little light and a little tool in your pocket. All right, I'm going to get out of here. If anybody wants to donate to the flashlight cause, let me know. I set up the studio line. I'm broadcasting at 404-492-6095. If you want to send me a text or voicemail, don't expect me to answer that because it goes right to the internet. If you want to send me a message that way, of course, you could always email me, sportcat@protonmail.com. And of course, you can @ me on Sportcat, and there's a lot of other ways to get in touch with me. Most of them are in the notes. I'm going to get out of here. We look at Bitdefender, and as usual, we see the United States is getting hammered from Asia. So, all right. Yellow is infection. Red is attacks. More infections today than there are. Well, I say that. There they go. More infections than attacks. Don't open spam emails. So, all right, we're going to get out of here. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you for staying with me and listening to me go on like an old wind, blowing like an old wind. Thank you, guys and gals. I appreciate everything. Thank you to Radio X for allowing me to run over. And, of course, to Yergs at Yergs Radio. Thank you for allowing us to tickle your ears. Please come over, subscribe. We're trying to get monetized on YouTube. Search out the Sportcat shows. Like, follow, share, and subscribe. Everybody have a great day. Sportcat is out. I'll see you tomorrow.